Everybody, welcome back to Viking MTG, and we're here for another deck tech. And deck tech today is rotation proof mono green aggro. Let's check it out. I believe this deck is going to be the dominant deck, 100% dominant deck in the format after cycle. And I believe the way I have this deck set up, it's going to be one of the premium decks. I think this deck, right off the bat, even with guilds included, which who knows what they're going to have in there, but I think this deck, once the cycle happens, will be insanely powerful. So, let's start it out. Four most important cards in this deck. Steel Leaf Champion. We're of course doing a 4-drop of Steel Leaf Champion. You absolutely have to have a 4-drop of Steel Leaf Champion. Our second most important card, Llanowar Elves. We have to have a 4-drop Llanowar Elves. It's that ramp that we need. Third, to go along, well, I'll finish the creatures first. Our third card on a 2-drop, trying to keep the curve low as best we can here, is a Thorn Lieutenant. 4 Thorn Lieutenants. I like this card just as a swinger, early game aggro. He's great. He's a great turn 2. You know, turn 1, Llanowar Elf. You know, throw down that 3rd land. Say you don't have a Steel Leaf Champion in your hand, which is going to happen from time to time. You've got Thorn Lieutenant to go to, and he's a good blocker. And if they try and remove him, you're going to get that Green Elf Warrior creature token until you can get something big on the board and really get going. He's a great blocker, and late game you can turn him into a monster. So let's finish out the small drops here. Our second 2-drop is Merfolk Branchwalker. Just can't say enough about Branchwalker. It's an awesome card. You know, you just can't say enough about it. 3/2, but it's essentially 3/2 for 2 most of the time. More often than not, he will get the counter. It's a great card. You know, you don't have to say a whole lot about it. Everybody knows it. Most people I know it and like it. So our first 3-drop is Jadelight Ranger. Jadelight Ranger, yet again, ultra powerful card. Outstanding. There's a reason why it was a $10 card for so long, and it's still hovering around that amount. And I believe after cycle, it will still be a $10 card. Yeah, I think this will go up because it'll be so much more dominant in the meta. Let me increase my lighting here, folks. I'm so sorry. It's awfully dim. All right, that's much better. Jadelight Ranger is our third. It's our first 3-drop, well, other than Steel Leaf Champion, sorry. It's our second 3-drop. It's critical. It's going to be critical in this format to play Jadelight Ranger because we're losing some of our more important cards. Some of our more important cards in mono green. The majority of it is cycling. The majority of the stuff in standard is cycling. Our next 3-drop. Actually, I don't think I have any more. Yeah, our next 3-drop here is Thrashing Brontodon. You have to have at least a 2-drop of Thrashing Brontodon. You could go 3 or 4 if you want. But for now, I'm going with 2 Thrashing Brontodons. That's a foil. It's a beautiful foil. Going with 2 Thrashing Brontodons. And now we break into our 4-drops. This one's questionable, whether you like it or not. 2 Ripjaw Raptors. I like Ripjaw Raptor because you get him out, nobody wants to block him. and nobody wants to shoot him with a lightning strike or shock or anything. Nobody wants to hit him because you get a card. Nobody likes to give you cards. So I think he's a great drop. He adds some chaos to the board. I know I hate it when I see him on the other side. We have 2 Gore Claws. Sugar Bear, I love Sugar Bear. She's awesome. She'll give all your creatures a pump when they're attacking, and she's attacking too. And she makes everything 4 greater cheaper. So she'll make your Ripjaw Raptor cost 2 green. She'll make Thrashing Bronodon just cost 2 green. She's a great card. Actually, no, he's only 2. This is what she will reduce heavily. 4 Vine Mares. Vine Mare is outstanding. You can't say enough about Vine Mare. You have the hexproof and the can't be blocked by black. Goreclaw will make Vine Mare cost just 2 green. So by that point, you could get 2 out in 1 turn. You can't say enough about Vine Mare. Vine Mare is awesome. It's just as dominant as Steel Leaf. Just cost 1 more. And it's got hexproof, of course, which Steel Leaf doesn't. Our next card, and I believe the most impactful creature in the meta, in my personal opinion, the most devastating creature in the meta, Ghalta. I cannot express the power of Ghalta. In this deck, as quickly you can get him out. You get a Steel Leaf out. You get a Vine Mare and a Steel Leaf. He costs 2. Period. Costs 2 green. You get the right combination of creatures out. You've already got Llanowar Elf out. You got Ramp. It costs 2. And he's an absolute monster. Sure, kill him. I'll throw the other one out for 2. Absolutely monstrous. And here's the one sorcery we have in this deck, because we've lost Blossoming Defense. We have Adventurous Impulse. Just a little ramp. I just did 3 of them. I wanted to concentrate on creatures because our goal is to beat you in the first 5 turns. If we don't beat you in the first 5 turns, if we go into 6, control's going to get too established. A lot of decks are just going to get too established. The Angels decks that are going to be coming out, they're going to use a lot of Cast Out. They're going to use a lot of Settle and Cleansing Nova. They're going to use cards like that. So you want to have them reduced as much as possible by turn 4 when they're able to cast those spells. You really want to have a lot out, be swinging, swinging smartly, not everything all at once. If you've got a Jadelight Ranger, a Thorn Lieutenant, a Vine Mare, and a Thrashing Bronodon on the board, you don't want to attack with it all at once because they're just going to settle you and you're done. But if you don't, you attack with your Jadelight Ranger and your Vine Mare, then they have to ask themselves, okay, am I going to remove those 2 and leave 5 power on the board? Or do I wait till they attack with everything? And they have to ask themselves that every single turn. So it gets confusing for your opponent. It really does. It adds, like I said, an element of chaos, and you want to keep a chaotic board state, in my personal opinion. When you're playing aggro, the last thing you want is an easily dealt with board state. You do not want a board state where your opponent is able to just wipe everything off the map. You want hexproof creatures. You want all different types of power. You want creatures with being able to pop up tokens when they get targeted. And I've got a lot of other stuff in the sideboard that you'll see the effectiveness of it. So let me clean this up. All right. Let's check out our lands before we look at our sideboard. So I am going with 12 forests. Now, I don't know what they're going to do for lands in Ravnica. Let's see. As far as lands in Ravnica, I don't think they're going to do fast lands. I think it's possible they could do shock lands again. I think it's entirely possible they could do shock lands. So we'll see what they decide to do. I mean, I got an abundance of shocklands now with the stuff I've opened recently and the shocklands already had. I had 2 full sets of shocklands, one set from Onslaught and one set from Return to Ravnica before I started cracking boxes online. And then I got the ones open, the RTR boxes recently. And I traded some to Isle of Games. We have 2 Memorial to Unities, 4 Rootbound Crag, 1 Timber Gorge. You know, we lost, we're losing the cycle lands. Well, by the time I'm playing this, we're losing the cycle lands. So they're gone. So we need, I like a little filler, you know, I don't want to have a ton of those tap lands. So I'm just going to go with the Timber Gorges. 4 Woodland Cemeteries. So I like this mix. I like the Memorial to Unity because we are losing a lot of cards with good options to them. And this is outstanding because it allows you to search for a creature card. Anything that allows you to search for creatures for 3 mana is a good deal in this deck because we need to be able to look in our at our top 5 and find a Galta. It's huge. Having Galta to get out there is massive. If we're not pulling a Galta, we got a Steel Leaf and a Vine Mare on the board. We need that Galta to finish the game. So it's a great way to get it. There's not a lot of ways to scry other than Adventurous Impulse, and unless you have Commune with Dinosaurs, you know, that I guess that is an option. But we're not just playing dinos. If we were just playing dinos, I'd go that route. But we're not at all. So here's my sideboard. We have 2 Duresses. Absolutely necessary in this meta. Even with white-blue is still going to be effective. 2 Vraska's Contempts. I thought about Crushing Canopies, but these will deal with Lyra. They'll deal with Teferi. They'll deal with any of those big drops right now. And there's a great card for 4 mana, and you gain life. And Crushing Canopy's great, but didn't go with that. I went with 2 Carnage Tyrants. Just unbelievable against control. I won't main deck it. Most of the time I won't main deck it. You of course can. If you want, it's up to you. 2 Thrashing Bronodons. So I got 2 in the main board, 2 in the sideboard. If I know they're playing a lot of artifacts and enchantments, I'm going to bring it over. It's also, you know, if I bring them over, it's also a great swinger. Turn 3, 3/4, that with an ability, you just can't complain about that. I sideboarded 2 Sarkhan's Unsealings. Sarkhan's Unsealing, I've been playing it a lot, and I tweak the deck a lot. And this is a great card. The problem is if you main deck it, especially if people know what you're playing, you find they bring in a lot of stuff like Gideon's Intervention and a lot of enchantment removal, especially if you're playing against white-blue. They're just going to bring in all kinds of stuff to counter Sarkhan's Unsealing. And they'll do everything can to counter it. And then you got to beat them with your swingers. But I do like sideboarding it. This is super effective against any kind of white weenie, smaller creature deck, the elves, the white weenies, the knights. Extremely effective. Not so much against other mono green. If you're playing another mono green deck, this can't get to them. You're going to run into too many creatures that are more than 4 toughness, and this isn't going to kill them. That's where I run into trouble with this. But it's still a great card to sideboard. I think that it's going to be a great option through the whole meta. I think this is a great card to sideboard. If you're playing green-red or playing red anywhere, I think bringing in Sarkhan's Unsealing is huge. I went with 2 Banefires. I love Banefire. I think Banefire is a great counterspell. And once Blossoming Defense is gone, good luck. You can't stop it. The only thing that stops it right now is Blossoming Fence, because they can make their creature hexproof, and that really made me mad when somebody did that to me in my LGS. But otherwise, it can't be prevented, and it's just a massive shot to the face. You can't complain about it. I went with one Shaper Sanctuary. I thought about going with 2 and eliminating a Banefire or something like that, but I just went with 1 Shaper Sanctuary because you only need 1 on the board. Shaper Sanctuary is great. I think at this point, once the cycle hits, I think this is going to be extremely prevalent when you're anytime you're playing green, even if you're playing the Angels deck. And anytime you do anything to my creatures, anything that targets an actual creature, I get a card. That's huge. Even in Modern, I would think this would be prevalent in Modern. Massive, being able to just put out a 1-mana enchantment where I can draw cards forever, as long as you don't remove it. I put 1 copy of Vivian Reed. I like Vivian. She's awesome. She's a little expensive. She's almost darn near a Planeswalker deck. Planeswalker expensive. It's only problem with her is that you have to wait 4 to 5 turns to get her on the board. But she's got great abilities. The ability to destroy artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying is outstanding. She can shoot Lyra off the board. I mean, you put her out for 5 mana, the same turn they put out their Lyra. Pop her before they can swing. It's great. Plus, her ultimate would be highly effective. Playing the creature deck, all your creatures get Vigilance, Trample, and Indestructible. You sure can't complain about that. And +2/+2. And then I sideboarded 1 mountain. If I'm putting in the Banefires and the Sarkhan's Unsealings, I want to bring in at least 1 basic mountain. I know it's some people kind of cringe at sideboarding land, but I think it's critical to have 1 mountain in here, just to make sure you have that 1 red, because it's possible you don't pull those 5 dual lands. It happens all the time to me, and being able to sideboard this in the second with those is huge. And I was talking earlier about cast out. That's not going to be a thing anymore. You're going to have to worry about Seal Aways. The big enemies of this deck. I also like to discuss this. Like, I know Dev doesn't talk about this a lot. A lot of guys do deck techs. Don't talk about the biggest problems for these decks. Biggest problem card that you're going to find here, for #1 problem card, is going to be Seal Away. Seal Away is a nightmare because this deck, you want to be swinging. You want to be swinging from turn 2. Turn 1, you want to get your Land Elf out and your Forest out. Turn 2, you want to put your second Forest and your Land Elf, tap out, tap all 3, and play your Steel Leaf Champion. I'll put the cards out here. If you're not familiar with playing mono green in the current meta, this is all stuff you don't need to hear. But if you are not, and you're trying to learn how to play this deck, I'd love hearing new people learning how to play this deck. You're going to play a Forest turn 1. If you don't have a Forest turn 1, you probably shouldn't keep that hand. You're going to tap that turn 1. Hopefully you have a Llanowar Elves in your hand. You're going to play a Llanowar Elves. Turn 2, praying that they don't remove it somehow, which with Fatal Push gone, most likely they can't remove it at this point, at that point in the meta. Turn 2, you're going to play your land. Say we draw one of the tap lands. It does not come in tap because I already own a Forest. You're going to tap out, and hopefully you have a Steel Leaf Champion in your hand. Steel Leaf Champion. Now I have a 5/4 on the board. As long as he doesn't get removed, which at this point you're in cast down territory. At this point, cast down is going to be a scary card for you. They're not going to have enough mana to Vraska's Contempt it, and they're not going to have, I don't think anything in this meta will be able to take that off the board on turn 2 or 3. But he can be cast down. It's the easiest way for Steel Leaf Champion to get killed. It can't be lightning. Lightning strike won't kill it. Shock won't kill it. But he can die to cast down. So just keep that in mind. And we no longer have blossoming defense to save him. So we're gonna turn 3. We're gonna play a forest. And our preferred option here, if possible, would be to play either Ripjaw Raptor or Vine Mare. We're going to pretend like we're playing against Mono Black here. So we're going to play Vine Mare for 4. And now if we're playing against Black, we've got a Hexproofer out that they can't block. And we got Steel Leaf. And say he's got a, I don't know what's going to be out in the meta right now. Probably Dreadshade will be out. Something like that. You know, we'll be able to swing in with our Steel Leaf Champion. Most likely he won't be able to kill it at this point. So we're going to swing in. He's probably not going to block, so he's down to 15. He might swing back at us for a couple. We can block him with our Vine Mare if we want. Otherwise, this is the great part. At this point, we've got 11 power on the board. Only got 3 mana, but we're going to play another forest. And we're going to spend 2. Actually, what I would do first, so I'd spend 1. I'd cast Adventurous Impulse, search my hand for the top 3 cards of your library. So say reveal Goreclaw, put her in my hand, and then I've already got a Galta in my hand, so I can play Galta for 2. Still have 1 mana left to make my opponent wonder what I'm going to do with it. You know, I always like to have a little mana open if I can. At this point, there's not a lot I can do with it. So then the next turn, if they manage to remove stuff, that's when I put Goreclaw out. I spend 4, put Goreclaw out on the field. And then you can cast anything you want. You can go off. Once you have Galta on the field, we've got enough 4-drop creatures that we can just pop off and start doing all kinds of fun stuff. And this deck's dominant. That's how you want to do it. The best way this deck will work, and does work now, is turn 1 forest in Land of Worlds, turn 2 another forest, put out Steel Leaf Champion, and then from there you can go with any of your 4-drop or 5-drops. You could go with Goreclaw, but it's not going to affect the fact that it still only costs 2 to cast Galta. Once you have Galta out, it changes the game. They can't cast it down with cast down. I have trouble saying that. They can't use cast down on it. It won't work. So they have to use some other kind of removal to take it out. They have to use a Vraska's Contempt or red. Good luck. You're going to Banefire it for 12. Good luck. With some of the cards in the meta out, it's going to be real hard to get rid of a Galta. He's going to be, there's a reason Galta is so expensive right now, and there's a reason why it's going to be a $20 card. I fully believe it's going to be as expensive as Carnage Tyrant, if not more expensive, probably within the next 2 months. I'd say by Christmas time, it's going to be a $20 card. It will be unstoppable with the stuff that's leaving the meta. So, I hope everybody enjoyed this deck tech. This is a rotation-proof deck. If you build this deck, it will be good for 6 months at least. Unfortunately, once Galta cycles out, it severely dampens the effect of this deck. But we still got a long time till that happens. And it will be highly effective, and I'm sure there will be another big derpy derp. I didn't put Giganosaurus in here because I don't like the fact Giganosaurus doesn't have trample. I'd put Giganosaurus in a deck that is purely based on Sarkhan's Unsealing. But then the problem there with Giganosaurus is I'm going to have a red mana in there somewhere, so my odds of having 5 green mana on turn 5, you know, not necessarily the best odds. So I have a hard time committing myself to playing Giganosaurus. If anything, I'll sideboard them in my Sarkhan's Unsealing deck and bring them in maybe if I feel like I need more big creatures. I'd rather play Traxos in my Unsealing deck. But in this deck, I'm not playing Traxos because I'm not concentrating on Sarkhan's Unsealing. You know, I'm concentrating on getting Galta out. I'm concentrating on Galta. Because once the cycle happens, Galta is going to be the most powerful creature in the meta, period. Hands down. It'll beat a Lyra, it'll beat anything. There's nothing in Standard that can block Galta and kill it. Especially once the cycle happens. A lot of the Death Touch is gone. A lot of the Death Touch, unless you got Dread, or whatever it's called, the Death Baron. Unless you're playing black, you don't have very many Death Touch options unless you're playing black. So, everybody have a wonderful evening. Please take this tomorrow, and if you got the cards, take it and play it. It'll be highly effective as is. I played it on MTGO. I'm beating almost every deck I play with this, and I'm excluding everything from 4 sets, and it's still dominant. So check it out, give it a shot. Let me know what you think, and I hope I see everybody. All my friends from Alot Games, I hope I see you tomorrow for F&M, and everybody have a wonderful night. Talk to you later. Peace.